offerings than we've ever had, even during COVID. So I'm sure you've been busy trying to stay up with all the things that are scheduled for you. We're super glad that you tuned in this morning to join us. And we have some information for you, and we want to introduce you to one of the key offices that is going to partner with you along your journey here, whether you're here as an MBA or one of the specialized master's programs. In fact, could you put your program in the chat and just let us know what program you're in? That would be great. Looks like we're having a few more people joining us. So our ASA team, which is, we abbreviate everything here at Owen, is our academic and student affairs office, and we're going to introduce them in just a minute. I'm actually part of that office, but first I want to introduce you to the International Student Care Team, which makes up a number of offices that share support for our international students. My name's Jerry West. I'm part of the academic and student affairs office. I'm going to let Brooke and Emiko and Sue just say hi and introduce themselves. They're also part of our care team.
Hey everybody, my name is Brooke. I'm in the career management center. I'm one of the coaching staff members there. So it's great to see you. I know a couple of you are familiar from some of the past Zooms we've done. So thanks for joining us.
Hi everyone, I'm Emiko Baldwin from the Leadership Development Programs team. I'm one of 4 and we work with all of the programs. And like Brooke, I recognize some of the names, so it's nice to see some familiar ones and look forward to greeting you and meeting you when you arrive.
Hi everyone, Sue Oldham. I'm part of the MBA team here at Owen, and I'm also an Owen alum, and it's really great to, I think I like Emiko, I see a lot of familiar faces and names, so it's great to see you on Zoom. Really looking forward to seeing you in our brand new hallways in August. I'll hand it over to Kim.
Yes, thank you. Kim is part of our care team as well. Please say hi, Kim.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Kim Killingsworth, Director of International Recruiting and Relations. I've been in contact with many of you, probably asking you about your visa status, and I'm really happy to see that practically everybody has their I-20 and is on their way with their visa. So we're looking forward to having you here in person. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome everybody. And there's one member of our care team who's not here today, and that is Professor Tim Vogus, who is also a part of the support that we give through our international student care gatherings, which we will talk about a little bit later. But right now, I want to go ahead and introduce you to the academic and student affairs team and let them tell you a little bit about what will be part of your next 1 or 2 years. And so, Liz, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hey everybody, welcome to Owen. We are so happy you're here. I know it's been a long journey to get to where you're about to be, and we are so thrilled. And as Sue said, we're all going to get to experience the new building together, and it's just going to be amazing, especially coming off a couple of very unique years. Like Jerry said, my name is Liz Scowden. I'm also going to introduce you to my academic dream team, Shep Shepard and Wesley Notestein. A fun fact, between the 3 of us, we have over 40 years of higher ed experience. So you are in really good hands with us on the academic side. Our whole office of academic and student affairs will take you all the way from orientation to commencement, which is just a super, super special day for us. But we are, just to let you know, we are from the beginning to the end, we're your advocates. And our job is to give you the tools that you need to succeed. I'm going to let Shep now tell you guys a little bit more specifically how we do that for you.
Hi. So our office will work with you on registration periods. And so we know some of you may have questions on that, but essentially for all of you, for your first mod, you're going to be pre-registered in your courses. That will happen later in July. and then we will let you know when your schedule's ready to log in and see that. And we'll talk about how to do that in a second. But know that we will get you squared away to start. And then depending on your program, you will have some choices to make for mod 2. And we will do that kind of in the middle of mod 1, and you'll get a chance to make your course selections there. And then for the spring, again, depending on your program, you may be picking all of your classes or some of them, or they may be kind of set for you if you're in Mac or MS or excuse me, marketing. Advising, we're available for consultation on your scheduled plan of courses. Any questions there, we will do individual meetings, we'll do group sessions, and we'll do, again, sessions kind of before registration period, both for kind of advising and helping you learn our system and get ready to register. We also work with course schedules, and so we work with the faculty on that, and we're close to releasing the schedule to students, and it will be posted online on Owen Central soon. And then again, we'll send information about that when we send your actual class schedule. And we also work with the faculty to schedule exams, and so our exams period happens right after each mod. Depending on what class you're in, you may have a scheduled exam, you may have an exam that you take on your own, typically in Brightspace, or you may just have a paper. So not every class will always have an exam, although certainly for MBAs, most of the core classes will have a scheduled, typical, traditional exam. Core course exemptions. So for MBA students in particular, our office will be reviewing transcripts and taking a look at those. Or if you are interested in taking the statistics exam, please refer to that information. That deadline is coming up to take the managerial statistics exemption exam. We also coordinate the course catalog for Owen, and that is available online now too, and we can drop that in the chat in a bit. But also it will get updated for the 22-23 academic year, and we're in the process of getting all that squared away. Our academic calendar is certainly posted in the onboarding pages, and so if you haven't taken a look at that, that is a great thing to review to know when our actual classes are happening. We'll also work with you on independent study, starting that process, helping you figure out faculty members who you may want to work with, and then ultimately approving that. And then we also work with the University Registrar's Office and students to make sure that our degree audits are up to date. And so we have a great tool within Yes that lets you see what your progress is towards your degree. And that's a tool you'll use and we'll use with you to help you get ready for registration each semester. Finally, we kind of serve as a liaison for other kind of key university offices that you may interact with during your time here. So if there's ever a point where you're not quite sure who to contact, we are here to help you navigate that. There are lots of things that you will do directly with those offices, particularly transcript requests, enrollment verifications happen through the university registrar. You don't pay us, you pay student accounts, and you'll get billing information from them. And then student access services is a great resource as well for any accommodation questions.
Great, thank you, Shep. And I'm going to talk just very briefly about a couple of key resources that you will be very familiar with while you're here. The course catalog. Number one, there are rumors that I sleep with that under my pillow. Actually, that is not true, but this is sort of our contract with you. It is sort of our academic Bible, so to speak, and it is available online. We used to have paper copies, but not anymore. We got with the times, and it's completely online. And it is a great resource for you, whether it is, oh, thank you, Shep. Shep just dropped the link in the chat. It has everything from campus resources for Big Vanderbilt. Most importantly, for you guys, the degree requirements, no matter what program you're in. If you're MBA, it really lays out your core courses, all the concentrations. All the programs, though, will want to definitely take a look at this so you know how many credit hours you need. Even though some of if you're an MSF, Mac, or MMarc, you're a little more lockstep, but any questions you might have about grading, for instance, Mac has a different grading scale that is also in the catalog. Academic policies, like I said, everything from grading, absence policies, that kind of thing. You'll find it in the catalog. And one thing that I really love, course descriptions. So in the very back, at the very end of the catalog, every course that we have, whether it's being offered this year or not, it is in our course catalog. So our new, as Shep, I think, said this, it is sort of a moving piece as different concentrations are approved and we add different courses. Our new catalog, online catalog, will come sometime in August. Okay, and yes, thank you. Our next key resource. So yes, and you've heard us talk about yes a little bit. Very clever, Vanderbilt. This is our registration system for you all. Your Enrollment Services stands for yes. It really is your primary academic and registration portal. And for you guys coming in, as Shep said, we do register you all coming in to Owen. You'll eventually register yourselves through yes. There is a yes user guide, which is very, very handy. And the link is right here. As Shep said, we will also have several information sessions about it. And one thing that I would love for you all to do now after this is go into yes. You're going to have something called a landing page, which Shep is going to talk about in just a second, but it shows everything from your schedule to holds. And if we could, next slide, and Shep will talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So this is called the student landing page, and you land on this page when you get to yes. I will dump the link for all the yes user guides in just a second. This is definitely something you can start logging in and just kind of taking a look at for now. Again, you're not going to have a class schedule for a few weeks, and we will let you know when that's set. The most important thing to look at on this screen right now is in that box on the right side that says holds. If there are any holds there, you need to read the descriptor and then contact the office that listed the hold if you have any questions. So it's super important. If you have any final transcripts to send to us, we need those so that we can review for any potential exemptions, but you also need them in order to make sure you won't have a hold on your registration. If there's anything to do with student health forms, you need to resolve that as soon as possible. We cannot override any holds that other offices might put on your record, and so we can't register you for classes until all those holds are resolved. So the number one thing you can do right now to get ready for registration is to please log into yes sometime in the next day or two, check for any holds, and then take action and follow up if you do have a hold there. There's also portals to billing, Brightspace, personal information. It's important too that once you're here and have your contact information squared away, this is where you would go to update that. There's user guides for that, but it's important to make sure that you update your contact information, local address, things like that. We're not going to use that information except for kind of emergency situations. We're going to contact you through your Vanderbilt email address as our primary contact, both for us and then the university at large. But there are lots of great links here to get to other areas. There's also where you'll go to check your grades at the end of a mod or semester, and also where you can request transcripts. You can actually do all that through yes as well. In that bottom right box, or the gray box, the last thing listed is transcript request. But lots of user guides, pretty easy to figure out, particularly there's some similarities to other places you may have attended. But again, the number one thing we'd ask you to do on this page is to check that holds box, please.
Thanks, Shep. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Rixby, and I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Student Affairs.
And as you already met me, I'm Jerry West, and Sarah and I work really closely together. I work with our international students, our underrepresented clubs and affinity clubs. And Sarah is going to talk a little bit about some of the other things that we do together, but also she focuses on.
Yes. So we do a lot of different things on the student affairs side, but we thought we would highlight the areas that you might be most interested in as you're starting your time at Owen. And the first one, student clubs, we hope that you all want to get involved outside the classroom, because we do think it's important for you to not just study all the time, that you need to get involved with your peers as well. And so we actually have over 33 clubs right now at Owen. And we have professional ones, social organizations, and affinity groups. So there's a lot of different clubs to choose from. You all have access to AnchorLink. I can put that in the chat when I get done speaking in a minute. If you want to go ahead and start looking at the clubs, it's just not time to sign up for them. That's the only thing that we ask that you wait on, because we want everyone to attend the club fair on Thursday, September 1st. If you want to go ahead and put that on your calendar, and that'll be in the evening. And all students will be invited to that. Even our returning MBA students will also be at that club fair. And that will be your first opportunity to start signing up. Thank you, Shep. Start signing up to join a club at Owen. Another area that I get to work with is the Owen Student Government Association, also known as OSGA. And they are a typical student of government, and probably that you're used to from potentially undergrad, where there's a lot of programming that they do, such as the holiday party that they put on in December and the Capitalist Ball in the spring. But they're also a governing body. And so if there are things that students want to see changed at the school, that's the group that you go to move change forward. And so you have an opportunity to be on OSGA immediately. We will have senator elections in September where you can represent your class, and we really encourage you to consider it. It's important for the group of senators to represent every student at Owen. And so we really hope that you'll think about that, or at least talk to Jerry and I about it if you're curious to learn more. Jerry.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And also to jump on the student government current alignment, even whether you apply to be a senator or whether you're interested in being a different leader on those elections will be in the spring, you currently already have a representative who is the VP of International Affairs, Zerlina Khan, who is a rising second year. So you already have someone on the student government who is a representative for you. So I'm sure she'll be reaching out if she hasn't already. And she's someone who can be a resource and an advocate for you as well. But so as Sarah mentioned, we facilitate not only student organizations and their events, but also we hold events from our own office that are independent for us. But among the things that we do support are our socials, our what is the word I'm thinking of, Sarah? Our Thursday night is a networking event around Closing Bell, and it's called Closing Bell. And one of those, it's around, it has fluctuated in time. This last year we started at 6 o'clock. It's about an hour and a half long. It's a time, there's usually some snacks, some beverages, and sometimes a guest speaker or a guest event. And one of those is the International Food Festival that happens, which is a lot of fun. And folks get to sign up and bring food from home and highlight their home, whichever. And if you're part of a couple of homes, you can pick which one you highlight. And we have a really good time doing that. The other thing that Sarah and I are currently working really hard on is to get ready for you at orientation. And our team prepares orientation and all of the things that happen. So if you're in a specialized master's program, you're going to arrive earlier than most of the MBAs, and you'll be in some programming, and your own program manager may have some introductory or orientation type of events. But the orientation that we're speaking of is the all school orientation, where all programs will come together. And that will happen Wednesday, the 17th through Friday, the 19th. During this sort of preparation period, MBAs and specialized masters, we know you probably have some other programming happening at the same time, but there will be an international student session, day-long sessions held on August the 15th. So If you haven't seen that yet, our orientation calendar will be coming out in a couple of weeks. Please mark that down in your calendars to plan to be at that, and you'll receive more information about that coming up. The other thing, I know that several of you, a lot of you have signed up for the International Student Worker opportunity during orientation. Thanks for your patience and hearing more information. You're going to get confirmation from me today with some more instructions, and I'll talk about that at the end when we do some reminders. The other thing that we love to do at orientation is to hand out swag, and we have some great things lined up for you this year. We're super excited about them too. And one of the parts of orientation that we also love to help foster is all programs getting to connect and meet each other, know a little bit about Owen over these 3 days, and to get to start meeting people, not just in your own program, but from across all programs. So yeah, swag stands for stuff we all get. I love that. So just to provide, as we sort of wrap up that introduction of our office, which we call ourselves ASA, which is Academic and Student Affairs. Just to wrap up the ASA introduction portion, anybody, you can turn on your mic and ask the question, or you can put it in the chat. Any questions about anything you've heard or something you thought we were going to talk about and we didn't? We answered all of your questions. Wow, that is amazing. Well, Emiko, is it
Sure.
time for our next part?
So that was a lot of information that you just received. So now it's time to do a little bit of breakout rooms and getting to know each other. Those of you who were on the call last time, you might remember we put you into breakout rooms so you can kind of meet each other and start connecting. And that's something, as Jerry just said, right? Orientation is going to be getting to know your own peers across all the programs. And we hope to just start that process here in this session as well. And so like we do have, let me share my screen again, because I will give you some instructions about what to talk about, not that you have to stick to them. But one of the things that we will be talking about later is, as part of the academic rigor in the process that you go through in graduate school, right? There's a lot of stress that comes along with that. And so your mental health and your physical wellness is really important to us. And so that's a topic that we just like to start for you to talk about in your groups. So once we put you in your breakout groups, first, do a little bit of introductions on sharing who you are, all that good stuff. And then our suggested topic is for you to talk about what emphasis, priority, and value does your culture place on wellness and mental health. And just kind of share your thoughts, right? There's no right, wrong, good or bad answer here. We just want you to have some conversation amongst yourself. And then we're not going to share what you all talked about, but we just want you to, this to start that awareness around taking care of yourself. All right. So hopefully, Brooke, I have given you enough time to put everybody into a breakout group.
And just as a note, as a reminder, staff, we won't join the breakout groups. There'll be students only in the breakout groups.
So let us know when you're ready.
We had just a few people drop just before, so I think we've got things aligned now. So before I send you into your groups, I'll put in the chat box. Those are the questions that you have, and when you get to your groups, those are the questions you'll be discussing. And then I'll go ahead and open this up. And I guess we're going to do the groups for what, about 7-8 minutes? Is that
Let's say about let's say about 7 minutes, and then we can kind of check in and bring everybody back.
That sounds great. I'll send you two notices at the top of your screen. You'll see kind of an announcement message that'll come through to let you know where you should be. So I'm going to open it up. If you have problems joining a room, just stick around and I'll go ahead and help make sure everybody gets assigned from there. But I'm opening the rooms now. Great. Looks like we've got people joining. Ishan, Anwisha, Chai, Chi. Let me know if you're having any issues joining. Chai, is everything working out all right for you? You should have invite for room 2.
As hopefully everybody comes back to the group. And while you wait, you should see a polling of some questions related to the topic. So go ahead and do that. We're not going to make you talk or anything. Hopefully you got to do some talking in your groups. And as the results come in, we'll look at them.
We've got, I think we've got 2 breakout rooms that just are coming back now.
Okay, thanks, Brooke.
Yep.
All right, as you're coming back, some have already responded to the poll question. Hopefully you see that on the screen that you have. And so if you'll participate, again, we know it can be very late or very early or wherever you are in the world. So we're not going to make you work too much.
All right, great. I think
Okay.
we've got responses from everybody. So I'm going to end it.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Great.
And there are the results.
Right, so it looks like the support and stress by culture. So is it common in your culture to seek support in times of stress? Looks like about really the majority, 63% sometimes answered 63%. And so you'll hear in a minute more about how you can be supported when you come to Owen. And just Vanderbilt at large, we have a lot of resources. And then, Brooke, did we have another question? Remind me. Or was that our one poll question? All right. So let's keep moving on. I'm going to hand it back to Jerry and Sarah. I'm not sure which one of you was going to talk about sort of the Vanderbilt resources we have around wellness and mental health. So I'm going to share the screen again.
Thanks, Emiko. And you can go to the next slide. So as Emiko was mentioning, we want you to start thinking about, and it may not be common for you to have a ready-made outlet for you to seek support. And there's a number of ways internally at Owen, which is why Brooke and Emiko and Kim and Sue and I are on this team. We're cross offices to support international students and the work that we're doing for all students. But for the university, there's something called the Student Care Network. And I'm going to let Sarah talk a little bit. She and I are both going to talk about that.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, and I know that Shep mentioned it for the academic side, but also the student affairs side, we do a lot of liaising in our office. So we're here when you need to find a place to get connected for a certain resource. We're usually the first place that you can stop, and then we'll get you to the right place. But one of those areas that we want to highlight is the Student Care Network. And so there's a couple of different areas that fall underneath the network. Say that you may be overwhelmed with a class and may need to look for tutoring, or may need to just talk to someone about, maybe I'm a little stressed and I need to find some ways to deal with it in a healthy manner. Or maybe you need to go get an immunization. Maybe you need to go see someone about some medical care, specifically physical. Or maybe you want to go talk to a counselor because, juggling an MBA program or MSF program can be a lot sometimes. There's several different offices that would work with you. And the way it works is you would start with the Office of Student Care Coordination, and you would fill out a form just saying what you want to talk to someone about. And then they would connect you with one of the other 3 offices listed below. So that would either be the Center for Student Wellbeing, Student Health Center, or University Counseling Center. And we all have amazing people in all 3 of these offices. And the good thing is, it's first about information seeking. No one's going to force you to do anything. They're just going to tell you the resources that you have available. And I want to highlight that everything is free. Everything is covered already in your tuition. None of this would be any extra. We just mostly want you to know that you're not alone while you're here. And we know that there are different things that you're juggling while you're in school. And so the most important thing that are there are people that you can reach out to for support.
That's exactly right, Sarah. Thanks. And to just also stress again that our academic and student affairs office, as well as the LVP office that Emiko is part of, as well as CMC that Brooke is part of, we're all touch points for you that you'll have interactions with for different reasons. And we may not be the point that you seek the actual service from, but we all are here to support and have conversations with you about what might be the best next step for you to talk to somebody and you're not exactly sure who to reach out to. So the Student Care Network is a Vanderbilt resource. These are Vanderbilt offices, but internally at Owen, we're also here to talk to you. And it doesn't have to be a formal fitting into a certain box or category for you to have a conversation with us. And Liz, would you like to, before we move on, Liz, would you like to talk about, so for example, if someone this is, a common situation is that life happens and maybe you have a family illness or something happens that you find that you need to have your own personal illness, that you find you need to have some time away from class unexpectedly. Liz, how does a person first handle that?
So we always are happy if you reach out to our office. But what we will always tell you is to contact your instructor. That is always your first line. And I will tell you, historically, our instructors are very understanding, very flexible, but the key is communication. You have to reach out and, as soon as you know something is going on, or if you have to miss a class, then, just reach out to the instructor and they will usually work with you. If there is some kind of medical condition that does require you to be gone for, more than say a class or 2, there also is something with Big Vanderbilt with the Student Access Services Office. You can get a temporary medical accommodation. So our office can walk you through that as well. But no matter what is going on, we always recommend talk to your professors. If it becomes, a situation where we have to help and intervene and communicate as well, we are happy to do that. But you always have the best results if something happens. As soon as just communication is key.
Thanks, Liz.
If I can just add too real quick, I just put this in the chat, but Most instructors will outline what they are willing to do if you do miss class. Some instructors may record lectures, and if you have a valid illness excuse, they may provide resources. It's going to vary from instructor, but they're going to have details on that. But again, I want to underscore what Liz said. Communication is key, and certainly if you ever are dealing with any sort of serious illness beyond a day or two, let all your instructors know, and then certainly let our office know so that we can work with you through that as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the worst thing, and hopefully it won't, is if you don't tell someone. You need to know that they are there for you, and things happen things happen that are out of your hands, and just make sure we want you to feel comfortable enough even before reaching out to us to reach out to your professor.
Thanks, Liz and Chuck. Yeah. What's our next slide, Emiko? International HQ. So I'm going to also ask for Brooke's help here. Brooke and Emiko and I work on this Brightspace page called International HQ, and hopefully you've already looked at it as part of your checklist for onboarding. And some of these resources are also posted there under the health and wellness section. Brooke, do you have any other things you want to add?
I'll add one thing. Again, hopefully a lot of you have already visited International HQ. I'm putting in the chat box, there's a link. So that's a good place to check it out. When you're in the page, yeah, just work through the content section. There's that pre-arrival section. We'll talk about that a little more in a bit. But there's also an FAQ, and then there's some links to some of the most important things that you use, which includes ISSS, health and wellness. And we've added one more thing, Vanderbilt Global Citizens, that's not on that screenshot. So there's a couple of direct links to some really immediately important and hopefully helpful things.
Okay, and the next slide, thank you, Brooke. The next slide is just to, again, drive home the fact that at Owen, we have a built-in time and space for you to connect, and they're called the International Student Care Gatherings, and we shorten that to ISCG. And they're purely to gather, connect with each other. You're going to be in different classes and programs, and you won't see each other a lot, but time to come together over a meal. The dean is often able to be there, and we're there to touch base with, to ask questions, or just to hang out and have lunch with us. It's one of the things we really enjoy doing. We try to do them about twice a mod, and sometimes they're at lunch. We may do a morning coffee, and it's just a great time that we haven't always done this. We've been doing this for about the last 3 years. So we love it. And the actual August 15th, which will be the day that international student sessions will happen during the orientation week, we will have one at the end of that day, and we're looking forward to having staff, and hopefully we'll have some second years who are in town there as well. And we'll have our very first one, and it will be our welcome, our international student welcome.
And Jerry, could I just add to what you explained of this? The International Student Care Gatherings really started by one of your fellow, she's now an alum, of course, but an international student who felt it was really important to just make sure there was community, and that there was kind of a focus around the care of this particular community. So I just wanted you to know this was really like, this was one of those things that a student really helped us to innovate and come up with. And so that's has continued since she's left.
And I'll say too, we're talking before with some of our questions about, social support and finding connection, especially when times are stressful. And it can be difficult to do that, especially if you're in a new country, a new location. These care gatherings, they're not perfect, but we hope that they can at least serve as one way that you can start connecting with others in your community. And that if you are feeling stressed, if you need some help, that you can connect with some other people, whether it's students or staff or faculty, to start talking about some of those things and get some of the support that can help you with that.
Great. And our next slide, just any questions about anything that we've talked about so far? Raise a hand, post it, or just open your mic and let us know. And we can move to the next slide, Emiko.
I just wanted to hopefully you've had a chance to go to International HQ and look at yet another resource you have called Owen Global Connect. It's a platform where we have alumni who are once in your shoes, excuse me, and have a shared experience of being an international student. Many of whom, it was their first time to come to the United States, go to a graduate school, all the things, live in Nashville. So if you haven't and you do have questions, this is also a really great starting point to connect with someone. And just, it's really casual. This is not about like a job networking, situation. It's really just to have those conversations. And perhaps you've met other alumni who are where you are, but this particular group of alumni are ready and waiting to hear from you and just have a conversation. So it's a really easy platform where you can start with a text. So it doesn't have to be like, I have to schedule a meeting with you and talk to you. You can just even send a quick, question, and then they'll answer back. But if you do want to go further and have a video conference call or whatnot, it allows you to do that. And so they've got profiles and there's more information about each one of them, but hopefully you'll take advantage of Owen Global Connect, and it's on International HQ.
I also just dropped a link for that in the chat box too.
Thanks, Brooke.
Yeah. So I'll, in kind of one brief slide on Career Management Center things that apply to all programs that are here. If you haven't already, please hop into the International HQ pre-arrival steps, and Emiko, if you hit one forward, you should see a screenshot of what that looks like. So yeah, make sure that you hop in there. I just before the Owen Global Connect, I put in the link for International HQ. So there's a number of things that you can do on there that are really helpful, especially there's the pre-arrival steps for students that are seeking jobs or internships. One of the things that helps you to start working on is getting your resume ready. You can see step 2 on our list is schedule resume review. If you haven't done this already, MSFs through, I know a lot of you are in pre-3, and if you're using pre-3, you're probably already done this meeting with one of your transition coaches. But MBAs, if you have not done this, please do it. As we talked about in some of our past webinars, and if you have missed some of the past, we did 2 CMC focused webinars just for international students, and you can find them both on the playlist I just put in the chat box. Check those out. It's more challenging for international students to do a job search, so we want you to start these things early to hopefully level the playing field a little bit. The third thing I'll mention, and Emiko, you can hit forward. That's the appointment side of 1220, so you can book appointments with the CMC staff. And if you go forward one more, this is the events part of 1220. There's a lot of events that are coming up. MBAs, we're doing something almost every week around different industries. So if you have an idea of what kind of functions you want to pursue, you can hop in on those. There are a lot of different sessions that are coming up. Some are really targeted towards international students. You can see here, there's a LinkedIn session that's really targeted just for international students with someone who helped create the alumni function. He was a product manager at LinkedIn and helped create the alumni function. He's a great resource. But there's a lot coming up in there, so I'd encourage you to stay posted on that regularly. I know from one of the last CMC sessions we did for international students, there are a lot of questions about the national conferences and career fairs, and we're doing a session on that August 2nd. So encourage those of you, especially MBAs, but also for MSFs, it could be of value too, to check that out. And then the last thing, if you all get bored over the summer and you're just dying for something to read to get you ready for all the good stuff you're going to be reading during your coursework, I'm putting in 2 of my recommendations that relate to the job search. I'm a big fan of the 2-hour job search. It's not just for international students, it's for all students. We're going to have the author come speak, and he's a ex-engineer, and he gives a very systematic approach to approaching your job search and internship search. And the next book that we'll share there, that's written by a Vanderbilt alum. He didn't go to Owen specifically, but did Vandy undergrad. He worked in career services and he did recruiting for a number of years. And so he's just a great resource. And his spouse is an international student. He's also worked with a lot of international students, and he wrote a book that I think is really helpful. It talks about the value of networking and recruiting in the US, especially for international students. So yeah, so a couple of resources there. And then on the next slide, hopefully you all have seen this already, but we've been sending out, ISSS is doing some great sessions. I'll add a link here so that you can visit these sessions. And if you've missed some of the sessions that they've already done, Emiko, you can hit forward one more. Those are the list of sessions for incoming students. And in the chat box, there's a link to where you can find that. Several of these are still coming up, especially related to job search. On July 14th, there's the Can I Work that talks about employment options and visas. But we're talking about academic affairs side. The July 29th talks a little bit about like interacting with faculty and how that works here in the US. So please take advantage of a lot of those different resources.
Thank you, Brooke, and thank you all for coming. We have a few reminders and then we're done. We really appreciate seeing you all and having the opportunity to introduce the ASA office to you today and to provide you with a few more reminders and updates of the things that we'd love for you to be tracking with this summer for career. But just as a couple of reminders, as Brooke mentioned, well, actually for Kim, do you want to talk about anything about reaching out to recruiting managers?
Thanks, Jerry. Just that I encourage you to please let your recruiting manager know if you have your visa yet, and if so, when you expect to arrive in Nashville. That's really helpful for us to know. And feel free to CC me when you send that message.
As Brooke mentioned, thanks, Kim, we also have the International Headquarters Brightspace page with those pre-arrival steps. There's also information in there about housing. We want to really just remind you and encourage you to do a lot of these things as soon as you can, but the housing, don't wait till you get here to start with your housing. So, and for August 11th, for those of you, thanks for your patience again. Here's where I'm going to spend a minute talking about it. For those of you who filled out the form of interest, there was a question, do I need to do anything else to formally apply? And the answer is that you filling out that interest form essentially is your application. So you'll have time to withdraw from that if you don't any longer want to be part of that. That's not a problem. The bigger thing is that we wanted to capture you if you're at all interested. So if you have filled out the form that said, yes, I'm interested, that is essentially your application. It is a paid position. It is for 3 to 4 hours maximum. The pay scale, I'll send you this information. The pay scale is based on a first-year student worker pay scale for Owen. So it will be a 3 to 4 hour time commitment. In order for you to complete all of this, you'll need to complete several deadline hurdles. One will be completing your I-9 Part 1 in advance of getting here. And the part of that reason is that there's time to process all of that, not only for there's several offices involved, not just Owen HR, but also Vanderbilt I-9 office, as well as the government. So you'll also want to have done your SEVIS check-in or SEVIS transfer check-in. So those things need to have happened before August 11th, and I'll send you more information about those deadlines. But you'll be getting information from a number of offices on your Vanderbilt email account. So if you are not yet regularly using your Vanderbilt email account and checking it, you need to do that for specifically, in fact, even for this purpose, for the student worker role. The student, what will you do? You'll do things like help with the check-in desk. And we mentioned swag, which will be things like a t-shirt and the other gifts that we have to hand out to you and other students when they arrive. You'll be helping with things like that. And the purpose of this role is to primarily provide you with an opportunity to fulfill the prerequisite, which you will need if you want to pursue a social security number in the US. You have to have a job offer. We don't really need, we'll love your help. We will use it. Absolutely. We need your help, but that's not the primary purpose, is for us to hire 40 plus people for 3 to 4 hours. The primary purpose is to provide you with the opportunity to go ahead and pursue your social security number prior to you having your internship. It can be a real holdup for you if you don't, but I'm not here to convince you to do it. I'm just here to tell you about the opportunity and to help facilitate that. So you'll be receiving more information. Please follow the instructions. There'll be email addresses in those for people along the way of the steps. You can feel free to reach out to me if you have a hurdle, but please follow the steps first and we'll get you there. Okay. So any questions about that really quickly that I haven't answered?
Joey, would you remind us, I think you said this at some point, but is there sort of a deadline for when these students need to take action on that?
Thank you for that reminder, Brooke. Yes, the deadline is today. Now, most of you should have already either have submitted your interest, or I believe you've been getting emails if you're a person who hasn't signed up for it yet. You don't need to, it's not required, you don't have to, but I believe we've still been sending those emails. And Brooke has also just now put the application link, which is essentially a form of interest, in the chat. Today's the deadline to complete that form. We won't be accepting any new folks into the process after today. Okay, so the next, our next, what was that slide again? The next one I believe was just talking about our August 15th International Orientation Student Sessions. We have crafted a day that's going to make up about 3 to 4 sessions, which should be really helpful for you as an international student. We'll have a career services session, really brief, and you'll be able to ask one-on-one in-person questions. And we'll have a communication session about networking in the US. We continue to get feedback year after year, and even when we add sessions, that I just didn't realize. I know I heard about networking in the US. I know I heard about job preparation, but I just didn't really understand it. So hopefully this will be helpful to you. And then we will have a class, an example class session with one of our award-winning year after year faculty members, Brian McCann, excuse me, Brian McCann. And then we'll have our welcome evening meal, and we're gonna have lunch with the dean that day. So you won't wanna miss August 15th. If you can help it, I know some of the specialized master's classes will be having other events, but you can join us throughout any time of day. If you're a specialized master's student and you've got to be in these things for your own program, feel free to just pop in at any time of the day. You'd be welcome to do that. We're at the end of our time. Thank you for hanging with us a few minutes over. If there's any questions, we will stay around and be happy to answer them. Great to see you all. Thanks for joining us from whatever part of the globe you're in. Stay safe, be well, come to us safely, and we can't wait to meet you all in person.
Bye.
Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.